We've got an important one here. We're going to get right into it. If you don't know, the news, the headline news, is that Donald Trump has been booked. The flyer says, I'm in. That means Donald Trump is in, booked to be speaking, the headline speaker. Where is Donald Trump going to be the headline speaker? At the Libertarian Party convention. That's a plot twist. Shout out to the Mises Caucus. They didn't just use Donald Trump as the thumbnail. They got him there to speak. And I have not commented on this in depth yet. I was purposely waiting for this moment. I was waiting for the homies Dave Smith and Robbie the Fire Bernstein to weigh in on this. And I have thoughts, but I just want to react. I don't know fully what's going on other than just kind of reading some tweets and news articles. But Donald Trump is going to headline speaking. Is he going to get booed? How's that going to work? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this is, but before we even get into it, I absolutely support it. Let's just go into it. This is Dave Smith. I believe Robbie's on this too. This is their channel, Part of the Problem. And we're going to get into their reaction live. Fill her up! If you want to know who America's next enemy is, take a look at who they're funding now. Hold on, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. I wasn't sharing it. Fill her up!
Look at who we're funding right now.
Fill her up!
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
We need to roll back the state. We spy on all of our own citizens. Our prisons are flooded with nonviolent drug offenders. If you want to know who America's next enemy is, look at who we're funding right now. Every single one of these problems are a result of government being way too big.
I'm the Libertarian Teapot.
On the Gas Digital Network, here's your host, Dave Smith.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Part of the Problem from Tacoma, Washington. Of course, I'm here. I'm Dave Smith, and I'm joined, as always, by Robbie the Fire Bernstein. We're having some fun shows out here in Tacoma.
I'm letting the whole thing ride. I'm just excited about this, so buckle up.
That room, I hate that you look this much bigger than me with this camera angle. And
It really is. Just it's like, and of course, everybody, I'm joined by my baby brother, Rob Bernstein.
we look like different species of humans.
So, Rob, tell everyone you had a big week. You turned 7. That was pretty cool. That's a nice way to spend it. Well, yes, it's not the size differential is not as extreme as it looks on this. We're doing what we can here to get you guys an episode. We're in Rob's hotel room. He did good job setting this whole thing up, but yeah. So we just yesterday was Thursday. We had our first show. We got 2 more tonight, 2 more tomorrow, and then over to Spokane. Looking forward to that. There are still the shows here, I think, are all sold out. There's the shows in Spokane are close to sold out, but there are still some tickets left. If you're listening to this, you could give it a shot. You might be able to get in. And then we're all over the place. Got a lot of stuff. This is crazy month. Here, you know what? We'll get into that because there's actually a lot to talk about on that. So just let them know, Rob, anything you got coming up
Brooklyn
that you want to plug
this week, and then the first porch tour is with Clint in West Palm Beach.
Ooh, Clint Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Oh, my good friend Clint Russell. Well, I'm going to see Clint.
Clint has been killing the game. Shout out to Clint. I don't know him personally. I just admire his work. After Comic Dave Smith, Robbie the Fire Bernstein, he's been coming up like really strong. I really respect his opinion. Ray Studios, what's good? What's up? We're going to talk about the Libertarian Party here and Donald Trump and MAGA. This is an underreported story. If you're just joining, Donald Trump is going to be headlining, speaking at the Libertarian. Yes, I said that. I did not stutter. It's not. What timeline are we in right now? What's the timeline? The Libertarian Party has Donald Trump speaking as the headliner. Just 8 years ago, they had a naked fat guy on stage. Now they got Donald Trump. There's been a lot of progress.
At the end of the month, as will you, when we're down in D.C. We got a live stand-up show and a live Part of the Problem podcast at
And we're pledging our allegiances to Trump.
and that is the other thing. Well, so the big news is that obviously we have the Libertarian Party National Convention coming up. It was just released on social media the other day that Donald Trump is coming and speaking at the Libertarian Party National Convention. Same day I'm speaking, by the way, Saturday.
The fact that anyone would complain about getting to see Donald Trump play live for free,
Yeah.
coming to your thing, you don't even need to go see him.
Yeah, you're watching Metallica in '91.
Yeah,
like,
this
come
is
on, dude.
prime time Donald Trump. You get to see the guy live in your set. That's insane to me.
Well,
Take the free ticket. It's
well,
a show.
listen, it's an incredible accomplishment that Angela McArdle pulled off. She, I believe, invited Biden and Trump and RFK, and I'm not sure what the status with RFK is yet, but Biden obviously is not going to come. That would require walking and speaking.
That's breaking news to me, at least. Angela McArdle is the head of the Libertarian Party. These are all the Mises Caucus folks who have taken over the party. This is from a while back now. And so she invited those major speakers to the party. What's the problem? Man, these libertarians, and I'm not obviously not talking about Dave and Robbie, they really get me pissed off. They're even worse than the leftists from this standpoint. They are so about being libertarian that they would rather hurt the cause of liberty and still claim that they're true 100% pure blood libertarians. And they don't even understand libertarianism. And I'm a newbie. I'm not well read like a lot of them. And they just constantly embarrass themselves. If you don't know why Donald Trump's speaking, just ask. I think Dave will explain it to you. Well, how has Dave Smith become the face of the Libertarian Party? How has he become a part of the national conversation, talking with Tucker and talking with everybody from Anomaly to Tucker to being on Fox? The number one face of liberty. I know it's disappointing that he's not running, but how did he do that? Well, he can market the ideas of liberty. There are a lot of people who have the ideas of liberty but can't spread it and can't market it. And Dave Smith's like, we're having a libertarian convention. Who cares? Who's watching it? Do you even know? I did a live on who the Libertarian Party candidates are. Of course, you're not going to get many views on that unless you're like maybe a niche Libertarian Party type thing. And you got to get eyeballs. I wouldn't even be talking about the Libertarian Party National Convention if it weren't for Trump coming. And let's continue. I think that's where Dave's going to go. That's my thoughts.
Not his strengths. But Donald Trump took her up on it, and he's coming to the convention. And yes, it's an unbelievable accomplishment. It's been interesting to see the reaction to it on social media. I want to talk a bit about this.
Before he talks about the interaction, Ray Studio shows that Biden only cares about a certain section of Americans instead of all Americans. And I understand what you're saying there. I think what it is, I don't think Trump cares any more or less, because we're in a world now where you're not really convincing other people. But what it shows is there is overlap between Donald Trump and the Libertarian Party. And that's where these pure blood, annoying libertarians, they don't understand. They don't understand MAGA. They don't understand the populist movement. I don't blame them. I don't understand all of the libertarians. I'm just kind of like on the surface level looking at them, and I like Dave Smith. And then, Eric July and Malice, and, so I'm not into it as they are. So let me help you out. Steve Bannon at CPAC, this was last year or 2 years ago, was on stage saying, we don't need to audit the Fed. We need to end the Federal Reserve. That's overlap. Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about national divorce peacefully. That's a libertarian philosophy of decentralization. Marjorie Taylor Greene is also out here talking. She has a bill, abolish the ATF. So Steve Bannon and the Fed. Marjorie Taylor Greene, peaceful divorce, abolish the ATF. Thomas Massey, who's not MAGA, but a lot of people who like Trump are warm to Massey, and Massey's kind of that intersection between Trump supporters and the Libertarian Party. He has a bill, end the DOE, the Department of Education. There's a lot of overlap here. Trump's not a libertarian, of course. You think comic Dave Smith or Robbie are converting to MAGA? Come on, be smarter than that. These are people who are still salty that the Mises Caucus took over, and they can't get over themselves because they wanted the power.
So, first, someone said to me on social media, and then I lost the comment. I was going to respond to it, but sometimes you see a comment and then you're like, I can't find where it was. But someone goes, they go, be honest, Dave. How would you feel if Nick Sarwark, who was, of course, the previous chair, who was very antagonistic toward me and Ron Paul and Tom Woods, and he's the guy we, kind of entered the party to take over from, very much motivated by that. Of course, I famously debated him, maybe not famously, but I debated him in 2018 and then had him on the podcast and debated him and just destroyed and beclowned him, and he's been a laughing stock ever since.
Is he going to be at the new
I need to use the word beclown. Beclowned him. I like that.
event, bumping shoulders with people?
He might be. I don't know. That's a good, for people who get the reference, it's pretty goddamn funny. Reference back to our last convention at Reno. But so someone said to me, they go, well, how would you feel, be honest, Dave, if Nick Sarwark had invited Barack Obama to come speak at the convention? And I'm like, listen, I don't know what you think is a gotcha there. I would have been blown away that he pulled that off. If he got Barack Obama to come speak at the Libertarian Party National Convention, I would have been blown away that.
Understand, the Libertarian Party is trying to fight for relevance. What am I doing on YouTube if I'm not fighting for views and relevance? What are you doing if you want to change, if you actually want to fight for this country and you got no views and no relevance? You are irrelevant. I've talked to the populist left about that, and I said, you guys don't have any relevance. They use the Palestinian, they use different things to get there, but they ignore the culture war. I did a video yesterday on Maj Toure. Excellent video for Maj. He talked about Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. This is in the hip-hop space. And then he used it to take it into the concepts of liberty. And that's what they're doing. So if Donald Trump wanted to come on the channel, Middle MAGA, you want me to say no? If Hillary Clinton wanted to come on the channel, Middle MAGA, you want me to say no because I don't agree with her? Well, these are grown adults who just have the worst takes possible.
That he was able to pull that off. I mean, you got to tip your hat to him. Wow, you've actually pushed us into political relevance. You know what I mean? You've got the president of the United States of America coming to try to pitch us. Then there's something. Anyway, now, obviously, I also would have liked him to be like, oh, I hope he faces some tough pushback, and I feel the same way about Donald Trump. Let's see what he has to say. And let's also, obviously, we have some, with Trump, it's almost even more interesting because we have some real grievances with Donald Trump, major ones.
Major.
But they're not any of the ones that get aired on the corporate media every single day.
Yes.
It's like the opposite. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, he didn't act fast enough on COVID. And we're like, no. You championed lockdowns into the summer of 2020. We have totally different beefs with him. And it'll be interesting to see how he tries to juggle this. And
This is going to be very interesting. I think so why would Trump do this? Why would the Libertarian Party do it? I kind of already covered why the Libertarian Party would do it. They're a third party. They're the biggest third party out there outside of the major two, and they're trying to fight for exposure. So bringing Trump in brings exposure. Simple. Nothing else other than that. You don't even know how many people even know who the candidates are for the Libertarian Party for president this go around. A lot of people probably don't even know. And I did a live. I broke down every single one of them. And if I had to choose one right now, it would be Joshua Smith. But none of them have the gravitas, the pull, anything. And that's not to diss them. That's just where it is. That's why you bring in a Trump. But why would Trump do it? I don't know. It's a very interesting decision. They have their own internal polling numbers. I know there's overlap. So Trump will say, obviously we know Trump's going to say, vote for me. I'm at the Libertarian Party. I ain't got any beef with the Libertarians. I know maybe we disagree on some things, but we got to fight Joe Biden. I'm not against you. We can work out some libertarian ideas. He's going to say, I didn't mandate anything. He might get booed. I don't know what's going to happen. But you can see there is some overlap because Trump will say, do you want to spend your vote on Michael Richtenwald, or do you want to do it on me? I know I'm not a libertarian, but I'm here. Biden didn't show up. RFK should show up. I don't know why RFK wouldn't show up. That'd be great. What do you got? What are you doing more important? If RFK doesn't show up, because Dave just said he doesn't know where the status is. If RFKJ doesn't show up, then I got to see what he's doing. What do you think's better than showing up to the Libertarian Party convention? So Donald Trump is there because he thinks there are some people. He's probably in these swing states looking. It's going to be tight, especially if they rig it like they did in 2020. It's going to be tight. And I need to, there are some people that I can convert to not voting libertarian, but voting for me so that we don't have this disaster. That's the only thing, or a favor to somebody, but I doubt that. That's the only reason I can explain it from Trump's standpoint.
How he tries to appeal to libertarians. Does he even understand what our grievances are? What's the reception to him going to be? I just find this fascinating on so many levels. But it also, I will say, it's been revealing of a few things that I think are major problems within the Libertarian Party.
Yes.
And they're problems that I've been talking about for years now. And there's different groups, right? Like there are people who basically there's a small group of people from the old guard who are just bitter that we took the party over from them. And they basically just bitch and moan all day long about the Libertarian Party. So whatever Angela McArdle does or whatever I do, whatever Heist does, they're going to bitch and moan about it. So that group I kind of dismiss a little bit more because it's just like, yeah, you would bitch about anything. It doesn't really matter. They also, part of the reason why I have no respect for that group is that, look, it's not like we didn't bitch and moan about the old Libertarian Party, but we also put in a plan of action to like take it over. Yep. You know what I mean? And we did it, and we put it together, and we won. And like these guys just bitch and moan. Like they're not doing anything. They're not organized. They're not like even.
I agree. I agree. For all the haters of Robbie and Dave, organize, get it done. This is a little bit off topic, but I'm going to do a segment on Steve Bannon and Jack Pulsebeck. And they talked about these protests, and they know there isn't any, when they talk about going against that blue and white flag country over there that's disgusting, when they talk about it, they know that they can't really knock the protesters for going after that country. But they want to protect that country, especially Steve Bannon. I don't know about Jack. I don't know what Jack is doing. They say, well, these protests are about other things. And they have this coordinated ring from donors to media and all that backing them. I'm like, well, so what? Why doesn't MAGA have a coordinated media backing, organized effort to get the MAGA message across? I don't care to dismantle their organization. I care to create one that's stronger. And that's what they're talking about there is I think they would respect it if somebody tried to take the throne from them like they took the throne from the old guard.
Like making any attempt to do anything. So it's like, dude, if you're sitting around bitching about the Libertarian Party, like just leave. What do you care? Like, anyway. So, but then there's a different group. Some of them even like are Mises Caucus guys, and some of them aren't, but are just, pure kind of libertarians. And this group is, I would say, allergic to any type of creative strategy that isn't simply, we're going to sit here and be 100% pure libertarians. And that, I like being a 100% pure libertarian, but that doesn't mean you can't have any type of strategy.
I don't agree with that. I don't like being 100% pure anything. I gotta be flexible. What is that? In what world is somebody 100% of this or that? That's kind of like what we talk about with every person is flawed, every person is a sinner. Nobody is 100% of anything outside of God. So no, I'm not 100% libertarian. I don't know what I am. Am I 50, 60, 70? I don't know. Who cares? But I talk about this with the homie Stephen Ignoramus. We're going to be on doing a monthly Rumble, a weekly Rumble today. And if you want to get alerts on that, that's Rumble only. This is grown man. And, it's funny. A lot of it probably could go on YouTube, but it's grown men conversation. We don't want to be like looking out for daddy YouTube. So go to middlemaga.com and put your email in the subscription to get an alert. I will be doing it at 6 p.m. Mountain. I will put the Rumble on middlemaga.com, so you can just go to the website every Monday and see the latest episode. But we need a space where we can talk about these type of things. So let me bring this back from what Dave said here.
Creative strategy that isn't simply we're going to sit here and be 100% pure libertarians.
No, we can't be. And Stephen and I talked about this because, and Stephen is great. He has that channel we talked about called Me Ignorant, because he is a Christian authoritarian. And I'm more of I'm a MAGA libertarian, basically. So why would a Christian authoritarian and a MAGA libertarian who have very differing views really see the world similarly and get along? Why? How would that happen? Because I'm not 100% pure libertarian. I'm not 100% anything. I got views on the left. I got views on the right. I got libertarian views. And I can understand, Stephen asked me, he said, well, he talks to some people who are more like, I'm 100% libertarian. And they say, well, I'm not sacrificing anything because I'm libertarian. And he asked me basically, are you more about being libertarian or more about acknowledging that we are in a fifth generational informational civil war? Meaning you've got to do some things that aren't necessarily libertarian. I'm like, I don't even care about the libertarian label. I'm going to acknowledge the situation. So I'm not 100% libertarian, and anybody who says that, you're just an effing clown. If you're 100% MAGA, what does that even mean? If you're 100% anything, you're not leaving any room to be flexible, to be what you need to be. If you're 100% libertarian, I think that's what it is. Of course they wouldn't want Donald Trump to speak if they are 100% libertarian. You would only want someone else who's 100% libertarian. So now you have your small sect of libertarians that affect no culture and don't take the Overton window towards liberty at all.
And I like being a 100% pure libertarian, but that doesn't mean you can't have any type of strategy, or you can't go, okay, so we have these ideas. Now, how are we going to enact them? How are we going to marry them with the real world? So this is a story that some of you guys may remember, be aware of. I know there's a lot of people in our audience who don't pay attention to the Libertarian Party that much, although this might be a little more interesting to you now that it involves Donald Trump and is kind of relevant in the bigger political conversation. But as you remember, Rob, I'm sure, shortly after we took over the Libertarian Party, a couple months after, there was a Senate race in Arizona where Blake Masters was running against Mark Kelly. And for anybody who doesn't know, Mark Kelly was he's kind of famous for his wife was the woman who got shot. He was an astronaut. He's a Biden Clinton Democrat whose big issue is pushing gun control because his wife was shot.
This is a great topic. So what he's going to talk about here is they did negotiations. We did cover this on the channel back when this was going on. They did negotiations where Blake Masters said, I'm going to be leaning more libertarian if I forget the name of the candidate, if the libertarian candidate drops out. That's where he's going to go. I haven't watched this yet. I already know where he's going with it. Let me answer this one here by Ray. Ray said, are you 100% American? No, I mean, I don't even know what that means, number one, but I'm not 100% anything. It's just nothing. I mean, you could even say father. I mean, I am a father, but that's not what you are all the time. Sometimes I'm a friend or something. You know, you're never 100% anything. I don't even know what that means. But for American, I talk about peaceful secession all the time. And what that means is I don't even want there to be an America. So no, I'm not. There's nothing you could find that anybody is 100% all the time.
Whatever. He's like the worst of the worst. Just a complete establishment Democrat.
Mark Kelly.
On the other hand, this guy Blake Masters was a very interesting candidate. Now, he was at one point a libertarian ANCAP, like hardcore libertarian ANCAP. He was published on LouRockwell.com. He wrote like amazing anti-war pieces, was in the Ron Paul revolution. Now he definitely went in more of like a populist Trumpist direction after that. But he was at one point one of us. And so here you had like a clear preferable outcome would have been Blake Masters being a senator to Mark Kelly. And they were polling dead even. Now, Mark Victor was a libertarian running in the race, and he was polling pretty well, like 5 or 6% or something like that. Very good for the libertarians. So clearly way above the difference between the two of them. And I was really pushing for him to drop out of the race. And I was like, look, here's the like kind of a thing we can work out. Like, well, look, we don't have the power to win a Senate seat, but we do have the power here potentially to affect the outcome and get a much better outcome. And what we not just me, but what was orchestrated, basically what happened was Blake Masters came on Ron Paul's show. He came on our show, and he sat down and had a one-on-one conversation with Mark Victor, to each one of them trying to convince how close our values were and how libertarian he was, you know? And anyway, ultimately Mark Victor dropped out of the race and endorsed him. Now, he didn't win.
That was a great moment. I'm going to take this and do another example. I talk to these black imams all the time about reparations. And where I'm at with them, I'm like, I don't agree with them, but why are we enemies, though? We don't agree. I mean, why is that the end of the world? I'm not against you. I'm not trying to actively stop you. And I even go as far as to say, and I'm going to relate it to this, is I don't even care to argue about reparations anymore. What the hell is that? This is a boring discussion for me. What I want to know is, what is your plan to get the political power to get reparations? You keep bitching and moaning about, I want money, I want cut the check, do this. Bitch, get a plan. Nothing's given to you. And that's what Comic Dave is saying here, is showing here, is that I believe it was Mark Victor did well in the polling, and that gave the Libertarian Party at least a little bit power, enough power to have Blake Masters come in onto their shows and to make, who knows what was behind the scenes that maybe Dave can't talk about, concessions, and say, if you drop out, then we'll do this. So why aren't you starting your own party for reparations? Or why don't you have a candidate that infiltrates the Democrat Party, just like Trump isn't a Republican. He's just a figure. He's just I don't even know if he's really populist, but I'll still call him the face of populism that snuck in through the Republican Party. Maybe that's what Blake Masters is. I'm still maybe an ANCAP, but I know that I can't market those ideas and get to DC, so I'll market it through Donald Trump, and I'll be underneath the mask of MAGA. I've got a Michael Malice ANCAP. I got in the building. Y'all snuck in the building. So you have to find a path to relevancy and a path to power. I don't need to argue. I'm not for money to Ukraine or the disgusting country over there 7,000 miles away in the Middle East, but it's happening because they have the power. So it's almost irrelevant what you want or don't want. They have the power to crush you if you even talk about it. So how do you get the power to do this? I don't really want to do the same, but if we have to, how do you get the power to be in the position to do the same to your political enemies?
You know, it was a very close race by the polls. It was 50-50.
Mike has bad knees. Thanks for stopping by on this pop-up live. This is a one-topic live. I'm only 10 minutes in. I think I'm going to do I don't know if I have time to do the whole thing, but I'm going to do as much as possible for this one. Mike has bad knees says, politics is about leverage when you're a third party. As a third, you have no power outside the ability to swing an election a few points. Use that leverage to get something. Exactly what I'm saying. That's what Dave's saying. Why is that so hard? Mike, tell me if somebody has a different perspective, why is that so hard? I don't understand why I'm explaining this. I can understand having to explain this to my 7-year-old. And I don't even mean this to be disrespectful, but I just honestly am confused why I have to explain this to grown-ass adults.
He didn't do that good on election day, and it didn't work out. So, hey, it didn't work. But the plan here, obviously, which was not far off from happening, was that you get the better outcome which is this guy being a U.S. senator than this other guy. I believe. I mean, look, we don't know. They all disappoint once they're in office, but he very likely would have been like one more rebel member of Congress, like another Rand Paul, Thomas Massey kind of, and there's other people, Matt Gaetz, like one of these type of guys. And that's definitely a lot better than just having another Biden Democrat in the Senate. And so I thought if he were to win, I go, look at that. Not only did we get the better outcome, but we got somebody to have to come kiss the ring of all these libertarians, make these pledges. And I thought it would be the biggest power move that the Libertarian Party's ever pulled off. And the amount of people who were outraged about this, because I was supporting a Republican, not a libertarian, and because
yeah, and I'm going to go back to that. Mike Has Bad Knees responded to me and said that I asked, why is this happening? And he says there's a no true Scotsman mentality within the Libertarian Party movement. Basically, he's trying to say you got to be a pureblood, basically. That's kind of what I said to start the live. They want everyone to pass a purity test. Yeah, that's what we're seeing. And to me, those are people who don't truly believe. They might believe in the concepts of liberty, but a lot of them I think are off when I hear them speak about it. But they might truly believe in it, but they do not truly believe that they can affect culture and affect change in the United States, because they'd rather have a small club that makes them feel better, that makes them have other people they can cope with and have their libertarian nuanced discussions about whatever they want to, who's going to pay for the roads or whatever they want to do. And they don't care about affecting change. As you can see, Comic Dave Smith cares about affecting change. Star Trump, great friend of the show, stopped by, says these grown-ass adults are terrible at strategizing. The only group that has been successful in recent memory is the DNC and their GOP collaborators. The DNC, yeah, I think what's going on with them is a whole different. But yeah, they do strategize very well. Yeah, you've got to, when I say we in this one, just anybody who's not in that corporate structure, I don't care where you land, you got to strategize.
Look at the 3 issues he's bad on, and and it's like, I remember it was very eye-opening, and it changed the way I look at a lot of members of the Libertarian Party, and this even within my own camp, because this was like Mises guys who were really mad at me, and this is when I was still planning on running. I mean, this is like when the whole effort was kind of behind this thing we were doing, and it was amazing to me that it was like, wait, but you...
Who in the Mises, if anybody happens to see this, leave in the comments, even on the replay or whatever, but who in the Mises caucus was against that?
Guys don't think we're going to ever have to make some...
Was it Maj? I don't know. I have no idea who it was.
Tough choices, or we're ever going to have to like leverage the position we're in rather than the imaginary position that we wish we were in. And you just don't you don't see what a badass power move it is to like establish this precedent that you got to come sell yourself to us libertarians because we can get you over the edge. Like, we're not winning national office. We're not winning statewide office. That's the reality of the situation right now. And it was just bonkers to me.
And that's not a diss to his own party. What he's saying is we're not winning those things. Not that we're not going to try, but in the pursuit of winning those things, you have to have realistic goals. In the pursuit of winning those things, we will acquire more power.
How many people were like allergic to any attempt to being relevant? So anyway, so that was kind of in my mind as all of this.
It kind of reminds me of the underground hip hop versus pop debate that still kind of goes on. I think that's kind of what you see with the Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Drake is more of a light-skinned, he's a Steph Curry skin-colored, or even lighter, I don't know. His parents are mixed, and he's a pop artist. And then Kendrick is a pop artist, but he's darker skinned, and even though his wife is mixed, but nobody cares because it's just them two they're really focusing on. And he's considered the more real one. And that's why Drake had some bars in there talking about basically any trash that comes out of his mouth, you give him a Grammy. His fans say it's dope, but he does have some dope stuff, don't get me wrong. But it's almost that debate between, am I going to be a backpacker, or am I going to flip the beat a little bit to kind of appeal to more people? Maybe it's a little different because Comic Dave Smith isn't saying change the libertarian philosophies to appeal to more people. He's saying use the leverage that we've had to affect and pull those other people more towards liberty.
Is happening. And, you know, okay, so I remember back when I debated Nick Sarwark, and there's like a seeming irony here, but I don't actually think it is irony. They're like, I don't think there's actually any contradiction here, because I was debating Sarwark at the Soho Forum, and I was saying, like, hey, enough with these bullshit milquetoast candidates. Like, why are we running Bill Weld, the Raytheon lobbyists? We should be the Ron Paul revolution. Like, we should be opposed to all the wars and ending the Federal Reserve and all of this stuff. You know, like, that should be our bread and butter. And he was like, no. Well, they got the highest vote totals, and they were two, you know, Republican governors in blue states who came together to get things done. And so he's just taking this kind of milquetoast approach to, you know, the purpose of a political party is to get people elected. And it's like, okay, well, you're not doing that. They didn't get elected. But then at one point, he just throws out this line, which is a tagline that the Libertarian Party members love to say. And he goes,
I'm going to stop and read this comment here. It caught my attention real quick. Thanks for stopping by, Christian. Christian says, I wonder how much influence Javier Milei had in convincing Trump to appear at the LP convention. Let's just stop for a second, and I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that. Javier Milei is a complicated topic I'm not prepared to talk about because I want to, you know, reading about what he's doing, a lot of the stuff is hard for me to kind of find and actually to basically unpack. I think he looks like he has done some good things and he's done some bad things. So it's nothing is completely one way or the other. But when we talk about Javier Milei,
our goal,
I don't think that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the full answer to that. I would wonder if Trump would talk about that. But let's go on a sidetrack real quick because it was a funny little moment when. Do you remember when Javier Milei met Donald Trump? That's kind of a funny moment. He met Donald Trump, and let's just say he's a little bit of a close talker. Yeah, just a little bit.
He's nice, bit of a close talker.
A what?
You'll see.
Hello, Aaron. So how long are you folks in town? So I was just there last year. In fact...
He's nice, bit of a close talker.
A what?
You'll see.
How about you, Jerry?
I'm sworn.
You sure? Could examine the artwork up close.
Maybe I'll try and catch up with you.
I've heard about you.
Hey, you must be Aaron. I've heard about you.
I don't know.
and so he's just taking this kind of milquetoast approach to, you know, the purpose of a political party is to get people elected. And it's like, okay, well, you're not doing that. They didn't get elected. But then at one point, he just throws out this line, which is a tagline that the Libertarian Party members love to say. And he goes, our goal is nothing short of setting the world free in our lifetime.
What?
And that's the line that a lot of Libertarian Party members like to use. That's what we're here to set the world free in our lifetime. And it's kind of funny because it's like, for all the radical things I'm saying, you know, that like gets my eyebrow raised. Like, really? Set the world? You think you're going to set the world free in our lifetime? Like, I don't know, I got 40, 50 years left or something, maybe 60 if things go real good. But
They won't.
yeah, no, I've been very hard on myself in these first 40. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but you're telling me not only are we going to set our country free or a state free, but we're going to set the world free. And it's like, okay, well, that's bold.
Do you know why they have to have that saying from a person like me on the outside looking in? Is because they know they're in this little sect, this little camp, and they have no relevancy outside of it. And the cope is that they are the ones that are still going to have relevancy outside of it. So then we have to say, then they go overly grandiose. We're going to set the universe free. Yeah, I'm sure you are. Nobody knows who the hell you are.
What's the plan? And your plan is, we'll keep running people who get 2%. And they say, we're socially liberal and fiscally conservative. And that ought to liberate the world. You know, it's like, and there's just this weird thing where it's like, there's really no contradiction between like having pure principles, standing on them, but then also being strategic, mapping out the real world as it exists, not as we wish it to exist.
They learned from Donald Trump. I don't know that for sure. I don't think I heard them say that directly. I'm going to say that to me, Michael Heiss was huge. We can't talk about this without Michael Heiss and others, but he was just, what an amazing, I call him the Steve Bannon of the Mises Caucus, of the Libertarian movement. Obviously, Angela, Robbie, all of them as well. There's more than just that, but Michael Heiss is behind the scenes. He doesn't take any fanfare. He's the mover and shaker from behind the scenes. Go to their Libertarian Party channel. They got great discussion. They talk about the strategy. I haven't heard them talk about Trump much, but I think they copied or learned, not copied, but learned from Donald Trump and Steve Bannon and how they took over the Republican Party. They're still in that process of doing so. And I told the populist left, you got to do the same thing. Bernie was a fake. You got to find your way to do the same thing that MAGA did. And I say, I wish MAGA would even let the populist left in. Maybe your way is through the Republican Party, believe it or not.
And that is where I just see a lot of libertarians struggling. So that's kind of my background. I don't know. Any thoughts you want to add to any of this?
What's the biggest complaint?
About Trump speaking?
It just seems like such a win.
It's an unbelievably clear win. The complaint seems to have been, there's several. From the Mises Caucus haters, then I'm not making this up, their complaint is that we were always an op to destroy the Libertarian Party, to hand it over to Donald Trump, and this is confirmation.
I'm not even gonna, that's just so stupid.
That we're really throwing all of our support behind Donald Trump.
Okay.
That would be a weird way to do it. You know, as the person who is the biggest mouthpiece of the Mises Caucus, and I have been, I think, since the beginning, or at least certainly it developed that way. Maybe I wasn't at the very beginning, but I certainly became that after 2020. I feel like I'd be taking a really weird path in order to do that. I've been like one of the sharpest critics of.
Yeah, he would lose everything. Imagine if Comic Dave Smith was, maybe they still think it's an op going on. Imagine if Comic Dave Smith kind of morphed into, I don't know, I'm kind of with Trump now. I mean, what's the purpose of Comic Dave Smith at that point?
Donald Trump. I've done debates with other prominent, content creators about how terrible Trump is. I mean,
wait, did he debate Anomaly or Sticks, X, and Hammer? I forget which one.
We've been merciless critics of Donald Trump. And always, I think we just did a segment on the last episode, or one of the last episodes, about just how fed up I was after he supported Mike Johnson passing this latest aid program. I mean, so that just seems weird. Like, if that was our goal, or also if it was our goal, why wouldn't we just endorse him then? Why would we be trying to de-wokeify the Libertarian Party? It would make no sense. Like, it would help Donald Trump, obviously, if the third party was like something woke that his supporters would never go for. Why would we make it something that might be more attractive to his supporters? Just none of it makes any sense. But then I guess the other more reasonable complaint is like, this will associate us with Donald Trump, and to the layman now, they will think of libertarians as something like Donald Trump.
That's so
okay. So this is where this is a legitimate concern, because it is a concern. The risk is everything has a risk. So you bring Donald Trump into the Libertarian Party basically just to speak at the convention. You get eyes on the convention is a positive. A negative is, yes, you're right. A normie who doesn't know if I talk to my wife. She's a perfect normie. She politically is probably like a Destiny right now, believe it or not, but not like actively politically, doesn't want to talk politics. If I tell her, well, look, the Donald Trump is speaking at the Libertarian Party convention, she would probably, I'll see what her reaction is, and I'll do another video and tell you. She'll probably say, well, I thought you guys were for liberty. You know, I'm a member of the party, so she'll say, you guys. I thought you guys were for liberty, or, she'll probably say something like that. You could have normies think that the Libertarian Party is now like MAGA. Absolutely, that could happen. Who cares? That's a downside. That's a potential downside. The challenge to bringing Trump in to speak is you've got more eyeballs. You've got a lot of eyeballs from people who are open to liberty, but they don't know it. So the Libertarian Party's got to get money. They've got to get donors. It's no different than a YouTube channel or any type of marketing. If you don't have people watching your show, you're not going to make any money. So you got people watching the convention now, maybe just throwing out numbers, just to make it easy. You got 1 million people watching your convention now, and you want to convert 10% of them. That's not bad. 100,000 is not a bad number. And I don't know what the actual numbers are, but you see the challenge is how many do you convert over to libertarianism? How long does that take? How much money and effort does it take to convert them over? Is it effective? So they have to have a way to measure these numbers to see if having Donald Trump speak works. So if they do this in 4 years, again, I need to see, well, Donald Trump spoke. I was all for it. Give me the breakdown. How did it work? Was it worth it? How many converts? How much money did you make after he came through? Sell me on why it worked or not. I don't care that Donald Trump spoke. If you could bring Hillary Clinton in but there's no overlap. That's why it wouldn't work. That's why Joe Biden didn't show up. Why didn't Joe Biden show up? There's no overlap. There's no overlap between a Joe Biden supporter and the Libertarian Party. So who is Joe Biden talking to? That's why it still makes sense to invite him, but that's why he wouldn't do it. The Libertarian Party has nothing to lose. Even though there's no overlap, that's why they would still have him. But so there is overlap with Trump. So Trump gets a benefit. The Libertarian Party gets a benefit. I want to see if comic Dave Smith talks about the conversion.
Unbelievably negative because just in pure percentage terms, how many people?
Yeah, Mike says it was sticks and it was a bloodbath with sticks. I don't know if I saw that whole one. I think I saw a little bit of it. And it's tough because I like them both, so maybe I didn't watch. Just like the Laura Loomer, Dave Smith, I didn't watch the whole thing because I like them both. But Dave's, I don't know if I've ever heard Dave off. I really don't. Tell me if you've ever heard Dave Smith with an off take. I mean, maybe I don't even know last time I disagreed with him, to be honest with you. I'm sure there's always something that I'll disagree with. I think the only thing that's very minor was his support for Maj at sometimes, but that's a very minor. And I like Maj, so it is a very minor thing.
Moving forward, just associate us with Trump versus how many people might go, oh, who's this libertarian group? And then start looking into.
Well, that's right.
It just, I don't understand why you go to the worst case scenario who is this specific person that sees that Donald Trump speaks at the Libertarian Party and I don't even understand it associates the LP. So now they know that we exist. They didn't know that we existed, but it's a negative.
Right. Well,
I don't get it.
No, you're Robbie's right. They didn't know the LP. Now they know that exists. That's good. But then the concern is right. I mean, if Trump's speaking, then you think you're like an offspring of Trump. That's absolutely right. But if you are having authentic, if you're not just a Mises Caucus hater, the authentic question would be, I don't understand it. Why? Okay. Well, then how do you measure it? How do you convert people? Because just knowing the Libertarian Party exists, I don't know if that's enough.
Now, when they think of us, they think of Donald Trump. It's like, well, at least they're thinking of us.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying there couldn't be any bad misconceptions that come out of this. And yeah, here's the thing, though. And this is what's crazy to me, right? This is why I made the point about because I've used this football analogy before, right?
Right.
But it's look, if you're going to throw the ball downfield, you can go, well, that might get intercepted. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'll grant you that. It could get intercepted. But you also got to look, if you're saying we're going to set the world free in my lifetime, well, then what did we just establish? I got 30 years left. Well, give me 30, I think. Okay, we got 30 years to set the world free. Well, guess what? It's the fourth quarter, and we're down by 27 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's only one generation. 30 years is nothing. Like a generation and a half. So what Dave is doing here and what the Mises Caucus, and there's a whole, I have a whole thread talking about this. They're setting the table as young as Dave. Dave's younger than me. I forget how old he is, but I think he's about 40 or late 30s. They're setting the table, and he has a young kid. I forget if it's a boy or girl. We are all setting the table for them at this point, at our age. This ain't even about us. We're already at that age where it's not even about us. It's not changing within our generation. We're setting the table to hopefully raise the ones who will continue it and change it ongoing. And you have to take some risks.
And what are you proposing? We run the ball? Like I'm saying, throw the ball downfield. It's like people are allergic to like taking a shot. You're right. Maybe it won't work out great. But hey, let's go for it, dude. What else are we doing here? And no, it's not so clear that I think it's quite possible that the result of this is people go, who's this libertarian group? Oh, Donald Trump feels they're important enough that the former president of the United States of America and the current front runner to be the next president of the United States feels it's necessary, or at least worthwhile, to come try to pitch to the...
Absolutely. They're eating up all his time in the courtroom right now. I'll take a quick digress. The judge today held him in contempt again and then tried to say it respectfully, but said, I'm going to throw you in jail if you keep doing this. Talking that disrespectful to a former president, number one contender. Even the Judge Juan Merchan, acknowledged that. Donald Trump, you got to stand up and tell him, I'm not giving you my lunch anymore. Come get me. Here's my address. Come holler at me. That's where we are with that. But what Dave is talking about here, to go back to Dave, is legitimacy. If Donald Trump comes on the Middle MAGA podcast, he gives it, whatever you think of it, it gives it some legitimacy. Him going to speak there, his time is of the utmost essence right now. He's trying to save the country in his way. He's trying to win the presidency. And he feels it's important to speak at their event while he's being hemmed up and he can't even do all the rallies he wants to. He could do another rally anywhere instead of speaking here. It's a big deal. And it does give the party legitimacy.
Them, and if there is any pushback or if he doesn't get a good reception or something like that, which I think he might be walking into a very hostile environment.
I agree.
I don't know when Donald Trump ever speaks to a hostile crowd like this. Then it might be like, oh, why is it that they're pissed off that he ever endorsed lockdowns, or they're pissed off at the spending, or again, I'm not saying when you throw the ball downfield, it's a guaranteed touchdown, but it's the only way to maybe score.
You know what else might be really great is if he walked away and we educated him specific things that he committed to, such as, let's just say he walked away from it and said, I'm going to free Assange. And then it became the Libertarian Party educated Donald Trump on, hey, this is wrong.
Absolutely.
And there's numerous topics that are like borderline on very agreeable that if it was just on his radar, he might actually do. And then even that's just a light education of who's this libertarian people.
Yeah.
Great comment by Robbie. And people, I watch this podcast a lot and people kind of make fun because Robbie doesn't, say that much he adds. But it's actually a lot different when Robbie's not there. Because Robbie is very insightful and not everybody can pick their spots like that. What a great comment. Yes, that's actually a very realistic one. To say, oh, Donald Trump came through, and then after he came through, the Libertarian Party, he was talking about freeing Julian Assange. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just a good example. And is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Remember on that great episode of Timcast IRL, Don Jr. called in, and John Jr. was open to the idea. And absolutely, that's a great scenario. Let's digress.
We're getting a lot of people asking about your views on Julian Assange and whether or not he should be pardoned.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Assange, listen, I years ago when it first started happening, I would have said no. Now, I'm like, oh my God, like he was on this stuff. Again, years ago, I was like, him, the other guy who gave up the military secrets with
Snowden.
What's his name?
Edward Snowden.
Snowden. Yeah. I would have been like, I would have taken the no. That's 100%. 100%. You got to let those guys out because they actually caught us doing all the things we said we weren't going to do.
Wow,
they caught us in the lie, and it's out there. And now I've seen what's actually going on. Again, my worldview, the America I believed or wanted to believe existed, that doesn't exist anymore, guys. And every day that's further and further gone, we just are being more and more awakened to the reality of the situation. It's not that it's getting worse. It's probably been really bad for a long period of time. We just now know it, and we're seeing it with our own eyes.
I don't think
so.
Yeah, I don't think that was it. That's an easy question to answer. But there were a lot of people in chat saying,
I think my mind has changed on that a lot. When even when we first got into politics, I'd have been like, no, that's a bad thing. We can't have that. But I'm like, now?
Everybody's
like,
cheering now, though. They're like, yeah.
So I just play that so anything's possible. Tim had Don Jr., his son, on, and his son did that. What's up, Tory Mafia? Yo, what's good? Talking
Walk away from
Libertarian
it
Party. But Robbie the Fire Bernstein's going to pick that up, that idea that we just talked about here, of anything's possible.
I'm going to free Assange. And then it became the Libertarian Party educated
It's
Donald
very
Trump
possible.
on, hey, this is wrong. And there's a numerous topics.
Jordan
that
Lott's
are,
in the
like,
building. #1 Libertarian on the channel. Great friend to show. And I just did a pop-up live, so just great to see him. Jordan Lott said, we need a Libertarian rap party with Tupac. Heck yes. So I'm interested in your thoughts here, Julian. Julian. I'm talking about Julian Assange. Jordan Lott, I'm interested in your thoughts here. What do you think about Donald Trump? And Jordan, we haven't talked in a minute. I'm not voting for RFK, but I would vote for RFK over Trump at this point, believe it or not. So I'm in a much better place because I kind of went against Jordan. Jordan was, I think at least, it probably still is, a big RFKJ guy. And I said, nah, hell no. And now I'm like, I've converted a little bit over. I'm doing some videos on him and talking about him. And let me know what you think about Trump, though. Barton Bella, what's up? Everybody up in here. That was a suck-up answer from Junior. Okay, that's fair. Let's listen to that. Barton Bella says that was a suck-up answer from Junior. Trump called for Snowden's execution just a few years ago. Yeah, I know. And well, are you talking about Julian Assange's? I don't think it was Snowden. I think it was Julian Assange's. But I think your point's well taken. Just a few years ago, Trump would pardon them only by pressure applied by polls and media. That's how you manipulate Trump. Yeah, but you're still trying to pull the window. But you're fair. Was Junior knowing the audience, just trying to take the right answer? It's possible.
Borderline on very agreeable that if it was just on his radar, he might actually do. And then even that's just a light education of who's this libertarian people talking about freedom that Donald Trump willingly made this commitment.
And nobody, and by the way, nobody here is saying now we must vote for Donald Trump. Now we must blindly support Donald Trump. Our candidate's going to pull out of the race. Nothing like this has been said. We've sacrificed nothing.
Yeah.
We've sacrificed nothing.
The one thing I would like them to do is define liberty, because it's just too vague. And that's how I define it. I learned the definition through Dave. I don't think he was literally defining it when he said it, but I was like, I never forget, it clicked. Oh, okay. It's peacefulness. So that's #1. #2, the opportunity for prosperity. And then Stephen Ignoramus helped me think through that one, which is private property ownership. And then decentralization. That's all it is. Maximizing those three things is the pursuit of liberty. That's my definition. I don't know what the Libertarian Party definition is, but I think it's all hands on deck. You need Larry Sharpe. Is it Larry Sharpe, right? He's such a bright libertarian. One of the brightest libertarians out there. Any Larry Sharpe fans? Man, he is amazing. He's great at articulating the philosophies of liberty without even branding it as liberty. Before you know it, he's teaching people that. But that's the challenge. You need to be able to teach these Trump supporters, what do you mean by this vague idea? Because when they see liberty, they see the naked fat dude with his titties shaking all over the place. And you're just like, this is what you guys are about? People still think that. So you've got to define what it is.
We just get more attention on our convention than ever before, and people are fucking complaining about it. It's like, listen, libertarians, I love you. Not all of you, but a lot of you. I do love a lot of you guys. But you gotta, listen, man, if you really, and I mean this, if you really have such a big beef with this, then close up the political party and start a book club.
Yes, exactly. So in 8 years, this was the Libertarian Party 8 years ago. They went from this to Donald Trump speaking as a headliner. These are the only things that I saw from mainstream media about the Libertarian Party, and this is what made them a joke. Mike, I don't want any fat jokes. All right, Mike is typing right now. Mike, stop. I don't want any male Lizzos. I don't want any type of large and in charge. I don't know what jokes you're going to tell. Yes, that is me. Yeah, I was a little pudgier. Mainstream media about the Libertarian Party, and this is what made them a joke.
I would like to ask the body to consider that the Libertarian Party acquire a mascot. And I would like to propose Dobby from the Harry Potter series, who in the 7th book says, Dobby has no master. Dobby is a free elf, and Dobby has come to save Harry Potter and his friends.
The perception is that they take liberty with the idea of liberty. Easy, bro. That's too much for me. Too much liberty all at once. But what I am seeing is this dude does have some political gravitas, some smart, some savviness. He's cleansing that party of all that foolishness I showed you earlier.
I don't understand how, whatever your politics are, you can be on the side of people who can't handle Dave Smith if they're interested in handling the Republican Party and the Democratic Party.
The Andy Craig letter when he resigned was really something. I mean, he listed off every little position that he's had in the Libertarian Party. And he was like, I was this, I was the head of this committee, I worked on this campaign, I volunteered for this thing, I did this, I ran for this office and got the highest percentage of anybody who's ever lost for that office, and now I'm quitting. And it was this thing of like, yeah, like you see it, like you see the kind of entitlement. This is an illusion that someone sold you, and I'm sorry you bought into it, but that's not what I'm not working for any of these institutions. My commitment is like to human liberty. It's not to your steps.
That is my pinned tweet, and it has been my pinned tweet since July 8, 2021. And no, that wasn't me in a fat suit or nutty professor. I'm just trying to beat you to the jokes before they go. Let's get back to the part of the problem.
Than ever before, and people are fucking complaining about it. It's like, listen, libertarians, I love you. Not all of you, but a lot of you. I do love a lot of you guys. But you gotta, like, listen, man, if you really, and I mean this, if you really have such a big beef with this, then close up the political party and start a book club. Like, if that's what you want to do, if you just want to read Murray Rothbard and talk about your thoughts and talk about like how zoning regulations could possibly work in an anarchist society because they could be done by voluntary zoning boards, like, fine. I actually find all of those to be interesting academic conversations. Like, I'm into that stuff. But if it's going to be a political party, it's so funny because the old guard would like lecture us. This isn't an advocacy group. This is a political party. And it's like, yeah, that's right. But it's a political party that doesn't right now have a shot at winning statewide or nationwide elections. So what are we doing? And I'll say one other thing, aside from even the Trump stuff, this is something I've already experienced because I don't know about in the legacy corporate media. I don't really have connections like that. I mean, I got some, but not really. And I don't know whether they're going to cover this at all or what. But I'll tell you already, I've been talking to the guys at Timcast. I've been talking to Tucker Carlson. I've been talking to Sagar and Crystal Ball, the guys at Breaking Point. I was texting with Patrick Bet-David the other day. Like, I'm texting with all of these people in our world who all of a sudden are very, very interested in our convention.
So a couple of things. That's great because you need a buzz leading into the convention. And what is it? Is it Memorial Day weekend? I think it's the 25th or something like that. And you need buzz, and they're getting some buzz leading into it. That's potentially, with all those people, millions upon millions of views that you maybe wouldn't have gotten otherwise. The other challenge I want to bring up, though, is Dave Smith is still the face. And I don't know what happens here. Who's going to be the candidate? How does Dave Smith fit into that role? It's kind of awkward, to be honest with you. I'm still holding out hope that it works out for his family. I don't want anything that doesn't work out for Dave's family, but I'm not going to lie. It is still possible that he could run. But you know whatever. It's actually a national convention to decide who's running. I think it's still possible, but I don't know where they're going to go with Dave being the face and then somebody who's not even a tenth of the face or the energy or the charisma or all that being the choice. That's going to be awkward.
And these are between the people that I just...
That's why I said Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, if I had any say, I'd pull him into it. Because even if he can't because of the 14th Amendment, the interpretation, he has the presence. He's the only one I can think of that has libertarian he didn't even know when he was talking. I was like, you sound like a libertarian. And who cares about labels? And he wasn't against it. He's the only one that has that gravitas, that no F's given attitude that it would take to be like, I'm taking this from Dave Smith. I don't give a damn. I'm not against Dave, but it's mine now. There's nobody in the party like that right now.
Mentioned, these are people with millions and millions of like audience.
Media.
This is new media with millions of eyeballs on it, and obviously the fact that Trump's there makes this much more of a story that all of these people are interested in. And I think a lot of them are going to be coming to the convention. I'm not sure who's able to do it yet and who's not, but I bet a bunch of them are going to come to the convention. And okay, already just that in itself makes a lot more attention. And at some point, obviously, all these people covering it are going to be like, so how do these libertarians feel? What is that? I'm sure that when they're covering this, will get, we'll ask people like me or Spike Cohen or, Michael Heiss or Angela McCardle or someone, what do you think about all of this? You know what I mean? And then people will and this is the thing that really was frustrating me about libertarians, is that they would play, Angela was in an interview and she was being very diplomatic about it. And she was like, well, I forget exactly what she said, but it was like, well, obviously there's a lot of areas where Trump and libertarians agree. And so he was coming to speak about these areas. And also there's areas where we have issues. And they're like, she's basically endorsing them. And you're like, guys, she's being diplomatic here. Obviously she has to. She can't come out. If she just comes out and says oh, he's a war criminal and he's this and that. It's like, well, what? Okay, great. Then he won't come. And then we don't get any of this opportunity.
Yeah, it's not, we don't need to be disrespectful to Trump. There's no need for that. Yeah, I don't understand that. Jordan Lott replied, let me go to the comments here. Jordan Lott says, let me go back up. Let me go back and see what you said. Jordan Lott, I think this is the first one after the Trump stuff. He said, yo, what's up, brother, bro? Trump is going to party with those libertarians. Let's go. Libertarian Dave freaking Smith. Then Jordan Lott says, yeah, it's pretty wild that Trump is going to be at the Libertarian Convention. It's wild. It's about getting the libertarian message out. I like Jordan Lott's energy, man. He's realistic, but optimistic and just has that energy. You can feel it through the screen. Jordan Lott said, I'd probably vote for Dr. Shiva. I like Larry Sharp. He's a pretty great libertarian, and Larry has the knowledge. Larry Sharp is. And I found out about him from Timcast. So, I've been very critical of Tim, but I want to make sure that that's balanced with, I think I found out about Dave Smith from Tim. And Michael Malice. I didn't know who Michael Malice was before the one that got taken down, Alex Jones episode. I didn't even know who he was. So Tim is platforming these guys, bringing awareness to the Libertarian Party. Nobody else really does it not like Tim does. Jordan Lott says, you make the major party candidates show up to your turf. Sometimes that's how politics is. It's like a chess game. I want to see a Dave Smith versus Trump debate. That would be awesome. Yeah. And I agree with Dave here. Well, there's no reason to be. Why would you need to be disrespectful to Donald Trump? There's no need to.
And it's almost like that's what a lot of people would prefer, because then they get to feel 100% pure. But it's like, hey guys, we're working in the real world here. We're trying to actually maybe move the needle a little bit. And it's just, I don't know. It's just such an obvious win.
All right, I got two radical pitches here.
Okay.
The first is I'm jealous. I'm not going to be able to see Donald Trump, but for everyone that wants to protest it, I invite you to Childerberg. You don't have to listen to Donald Trump speak.
Childerberg?
I'll be on there on Saturday. I'm going to miss the Trump shenanigans.
I mean, nothing against Childerberg. I've heard it's a great time, but this was not the one to go to.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not bailing on the gig, and I love being there,
fair
but I would like to see Donald Trump play live.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Guys, I know I'm
going to let the sponsor go. I mean, I want to support comic Dave Smith and Robbie the Fire Bernstein.
Personally have benefited from therapy in the past, and I know lots of people who have as well. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you do is you fill out a brief questionnaire and you get matched with a licensed therapist. You can also switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. BetterHelp is therapy for the modern world. I know people are busy and it's much easier to do this stuff online. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/problem today, and you'll get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/problem for 10% off your first month. All right, let's get back into the show.
Okay, I know you're not gonna like it, and it's gonna piss off some of the.
I remember, we'll get back to Robbie in a second. Shane Hazel was running for governor of Georgia. And I think, I at him on Twitter, and he replied. I was like, "Are you running, or are you thinking about politics anymore?" He said something to the effect of, "Man, it's just too rough. I mean, this is a rough game. I'm out the game for right now." And so I don't want to push Dave Smith into that kind of shoehorn, because he has impact now. And he's probably like, well, I can drive the needle without having to really be the bullseye. Barton Bella, great comment here, says, to me, liberty is an everyday battle between your desire to protect your way of living and demanding others live like that versus demanding and protecting others' rights to try to force you to live their way. I agree with that definition as well. I think it's a little bit tough. I mean, what you could do is put that into, you don't need to, but for me, I'd put that into, where I'm going to go with this AI and kind of say, help refine. This is what I think it is. Help me refine it. And it will help you refine the definition. But that's a good start. And Barton Bella says, because liberty is hard. And I think most normies don't want liberty because it's scary. It's hard. You make your own choices. You still could get advice from people. And basically, under the ideas of liberty, you could live the same way you're living now. If you appeal to authority, you can still appeal to. There's always going to be authority. There's always going to be an authority to appeal to, but you would have the option.
Libertarians, but I got a pitch for a publicity stunt here. We put up a demand list, and I actually think that they're all reasonable enough that Donald Trump might say yes to it. And if Donald Trump says yes to this demand list, and I'm not done with my demand list, but I got a rough framework here, we bail and say that we'll support him. Wow. And I think
I want to see Stormy's tits.
that's
number one.
No, that's not going to do it for me. I was going to say something else that wasn't appropriate, so I'm not going to say that. Nah, Stormy's tits not going to do it for me. I don't need to see those washed up old. Nah, that's not going to work.
No, because I think if you were to front,
I guess she's a porn star. I guess we could all get pictures.
This is a way I think you can really move the ball forward on specific things that we care about.
You wrote down, you actually put thought into this?
Yeah. All right.
This is more effort than you put into your act.
I'll tell you the first one. End support for Gaza war and the Ukraine war. You might get a commitment from him on that.
No, you're not. But I like it.
That's not totally outside the realm of what you might get a yes on. And then you get to front, hey, this is the number one thing that we care about right now. And you might get a yes.
That's not the number one thing. Yeah, that's not the number one thing. The number one thing is free speech. There's nothing more important. That's why it's the First Amendment, and I think people keep losing track of that. There is nothing more important than free speech. And Trump has a digital Bill of Rights that he talked about, I think it was late last year. And that's what we need to talk about before anything else. There's nothing else on, not the border, not the funding, not the funny country over there, none of them. First speech, free speech, number one issue.
Let's see yes from the guy. All right, you want to know the next one?
Sure.
Prosecute Fauci, or at least a commitment to a special investigator into financial crimes of Fauci during the COVID pandemic.
I like that.
Yeah.
Next one, audit the
Don't limit it to financial crimes.
Okay.
But yeah.
Audit the Federal Reserve.
I like that.
I don't think like you can say end the Fed if you want to be a purist. I don't think you'll get a yes on that. I think you could get a yes on audit.
Yep.
A law against central bank digital currencies, a law against health passports or any sort of mandated health tracking system.
Right.
And a law against U.S. participation in a WHO-based virus response. And then the last one, real easy, complete the wall.
Well, that one's not going to be unanimous amongst libertarians, so I don't
give a damn about the liberty. This open border debate with libertarians is so cringe, but I love that, Robbie. I mean, just leave those. That's it. Keep it simple. And we know he's not going to do any of these demands, but other than the wall, but it helps other people understand what the Libertarian Party is about. So I don't know if you want to do the demand because it will kind of overshadow your own candidates, but your candidates gotta find a way to I don't know how you do it. You gotta get attention. You gotta really go out there. You've got to do something to get eyeballs on you. It's independently of Trump. The people running for president for the Libertarian Party, Joshua Smith, Michael Rectenwald, all of them, they need to get more eyes on themselves. You got to market.
Last one would make sense for the LP as a party, because there's a lot of people who don't agree with that there. So I'm just trying to be fair. Between me and you, I'd be fine with that being on the list.
Barton Bella says, which AI engine? I am partial to ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT is the best one I've used. I think I've used all of them, most of them. Some of the open source ones are just too, it's just too much to kind of get on your system for me. But ChatGPT is the best one. I like their little widgets they got. They are by far the best one for me.
Between me and you and everyone who listens here. I didn't mean between us. I meant amongst us. We probably agree on that.
At least there's a publicity stunt of these are the most important things.
I'm not. I get your point there. I think it would be hard to get the issue with libertarians is that they are such individualists, and that it's going to be hard to get anything where the group would agree, we'll support you if you do this. Let me say this, okay? I think
Dave is taking the list too seriously. Trump's not going to agree to it, and no, the libertarians aren't all going to agree with it. I would need explanation why they wouldn't agree with those things, but all libertarians are not going to agree with it. That's not the point. The point is this is the party. This is the part of the party. We're running the party right now, and this is what this is. It's more of introducing what your platform is through a list of demands of Donald Trump. It's not literally a list of demands. He's not going to say yes to them.
Endorsed Michael Rectenwald. I'm supporting Michael Rectenwald for president. I'm going to vote for Michael Rectenwald when he wins the nomination after this. So that's certainly, I'm not, but back to the thing with Blake Masters, because I remember when I jumped on, because there were a bunch of actually like Mises Caucus guys who were very upset with me at this point. And these guys were like getting ready to support me for president at the time. Like that's what they all want. They were very upset with me.
Name names.
And I jumped on like an organizer's meeting as Michael Heiss asked me to jump on. And I talked to like, I don't know, like a bunch of them. And there were a bunch of them really critical of me. Like they were really, it was.
You just had to sit there and take it?
Well, no, I sat there and argued with them.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah, no.
Brutal.
It was very frustrating. And it did change, it was an eye-opening.
Interesting. I don't know if these are public, well-known figures that Comic Dave Smith is talking about. I am interested to know if we know names of who he's talking about. Jordan Lott says that I actually met Spike Cohen's pretty cool dude. I don't know much about him other than following him and listening. Sounds excellent. He had a really great. I asked some questions about liberty, and man, he replied to them, and it just really concise and well explained. I'm like, man, this is what I want from the Libertarian Party. He was on, wasn't he on? Was he on the Patrick Bet-David show a while back? The Libertarian Convention will be interesting. So Jordan Lott, what's going to happen here? Who's going to be the candidate? Do we know who's going to be the favorite? Who's going to win the president, the nomination, get the delegates?
Experience for me where I was kind of like, I was a bit pissed off by it. Where I was just kind of like, it was like, Jesus, guys, like we've done this whole thing together, and you're going to turn on me over this, over like a clear, like an opportunity to have the biggest power move in the history of the party. And look, here's the thing, okay? The position that libertarians are in is that, well, look, something like that we can actually do. We can kind of like extort, for lack of a better term, without the illegal connotations of it, but we can be like, hey, we will ruin this for you unless you do this. And like, we're actually in the position to do that right now. We're not in the position to say we're going to win the Senate race, but we are in the position to say we could get you over or not get you over. Or look, sometimes, as in this case, it didn't work either way, right? Like we still weren't able to get him over, but at least there was a shot. It could have been successful. But the point is more like, if you can get concessions out of a candidate, say like what you're saying with Donald Trump, it's one thing when you get them for somebody running for office, because, they can make promises and politicians don't keep their promises. So, okay, there's a flaw there, but at the same time, like you said, it could create a big publicity stunt. It could get your demands on the map.
Right.
But the real move here, and this is what I was trying to explain to the Mises Caucus guys, is that, look, what I was trying to do with the Blake Masters thing here is I go, okay, but guys, if this works, right? if this works, then it will be very clearly seen that we got him over. Because the Libertarian Party, candidate dropped out and endorsed him. He went to Ron Paul. He went to Dave Smith. He went and addressed that, and then he wins. But then the real rub of it comes that he's going to have to get reelected. Now you're extorting an incumbent. Now it's not, I want a campaign promise. Now it's, I want to see that you did this. I want to see, and then now you might actually be in the realm of something that makes libertarians very uncomfortable, of actually wielding political power. So Donald Trump is not look, ideally this would have happened with Donald Trump in 2016. And then when he's going for re-election, you go, hey, how come Ross Ulbricht hasn't been pardoned yet? How come Julian Assange hasn't been pardoned yet? And then if he does that, we'll support you, right? So that, but again, that's got to start somewhere. And this is a good, my other point is that the Blake Masters thing, or this with Trump, this is a good place to start that process for the future, to maybe actually get, some concessions, maybe actually move the needle a little bit toward the side of what's right.
I also think and now I'm, let's say Donald Trump took the bait. You put up my list of demands. He actually says yes. And then you got to eat the crow and go, all right, we're backing Donald Trump. I'm just going to say, in reality, what have you lost? I'm just saying, just pure, your other choice was Biden was going to become president. In my opinion, that's substantially worse. It's what gets lost? Even if he doesn't keep the commitments, he gets to
Now, just play hypothetical. I know he's not going to accept all those terms. If he did say, I accept all those terms, it's a win, obviously.
Educate people on, hey, this was what was important to the Libertarian Party. Maybe, I don't know, that moves the ball forward a little bit, that people realize these are the most important issues, and he bails on you, and then whatever, you're in the same place you always were.
Yeah, I mean, and again, look, I get your point, but the thing that's crazy is that that's not even what's happening, and people are upset.
Oh, yeah.
They're not even
forward with a way more radical.
You're going with something much more radical. None of this is actually happening. All that's happening is he's coming to speak.
Which is so fun.
And it's on top of it, it's going to be very entertaining. But it's it's also fascinating to see what, he's going to do. But it was kind of unbelievable to me how much this is a controversial move when it's just, I don't know, that old corny slogan, but it's this is why we can't have nice things. But it really did make me feel that way, that it's this is why we can't have nice things, libertarians, because even now in this moment, people can't just give it to Angela and go, oh, she pulled it off. She pulled off something amazing that this party's never pulled off before. This is great. And I'll tell you, it also just is exposing to how stupid some libertarians are, and I don't have anything else to say other than it's oh, I didn't realize how low your IQ was. Whereas people are going, oh, and it goes, Dave, you said Donald Trump was guilty of war crimes, but now you're celebrating that he's coming to speak, so which one is it? And you're like, what? Wait, seriously? There's no contradiction between those two positions at all. Yeah. It's I think Donald Trump was a disaster in many different ways. I also think the most famous human being to ever exist, who is the former president and the current frontrunner for president, coming to the Libertarian Party convention, you puts a tremendous amount of attention on us and the ideas that we care about. Those are both obviously true. Sorry,
I just feel I feel Dave so much there, because he's almost I can't respond. I didn't know you were that low IQ. I could just feel he's more frustrated than anything and disappointed.
Well, I can I push back on that one?
Sure.
Don't you end up with would you make a similar case for Hitler in his prime of, hey, it brings attention to us? At what point does someone, if you view him as a war criminal, at what point do you
I think you're just playing devil advocate. You're not going to compare the two, though, are you, bro? And let's use Putin. If Putin wanted to speak at the Libertarian National Convention, would you say no? Of course not. I would have Putin there. Are we seriously going to say you would say no? I'm not trying to compare Putin to the funny mustache dude, but yeah, I would have him come through. Did you see those memes that were going wild? I don't know if you can play them on YouTube. That day on Twitter was hilarious, man. They did this thing where, I don't know where it's from, but there's this meme where this guy comes on stage and is dancing. It's a hype meme. I don't know what song it is. but they're coming from the backstage, and they come on stage, and they're doing the dance to get the crowd hype, and they're substituting different people in for the meme. I don't even know what to search to find it anymore. But they had the funny mustache guy in there doing it. I thought it was pretty funny.
Someone is reprehensible enough that you go, well, we just can't have him.
Well, the thing about, look, I mean, you think about Hitler as like this, like almost like this historical figure of like cartoonish levels of
Right.
evil. But
wait, what was that's just a tough one. I think Robbie's doing a good job just playing the counter argument, but there's no comparison there.
if you're talking about Hitler as, say, like, I don't know, he was just the chancellor and he's the front runner to be chancellor again, well then yeah, because like it or not, he's fucking really relevant in this situation.
Right.
And if you were saying, let's say, like, to make the analogy complete, Hitler, you know, I don't exactly know, he hasn't been Führer yet, but he was chancellor and he's out and now he's running again for chancellor and he's the fake.
Let's twist it to Xi Jinping. I haven't talked about China and Xi Jinping in a minute, and I criticized San Francisco or Governor Newsom because he rolled out the red carpet. I'm fine with having meetings with Xi Jinping, but you don't treat him like he's some type of hero or anything, and that's not what they're doing here. If Xi Jinping wanted to speak at the Libertarian National Convention, I would say absolutely have that dude come through. They're not rolling out the red carpet. They're not sweeping bums off the street and hiding them in sewers, or I don't know where they put the homeless, all the drug abusers and the homeless. It seemed like at the snap of a finger, all of them disappeared. Because why? Because daddy was coming through, because the boss was coming through. They don't clean them off the streets for their own people. That was the take. The take wasn't that I don't want Xi Jinping to come through. You can come through. Bring in, not only come through, bring in Republicans, bring in Democrats, bring in Libertarians, bring in MAGA, and say, we got some questions for you, bruh. You're not coming through as like our boss or hero or anything like that. So I think that's where the difference in the takes are. Yeah, of course I would have him come through and speak.
Favorite to be chancellor, and he's coming to speak to a Jewish rights organization. You know what I mean? So like, supposedly give some assurances.
Gary said magic hobos. It was just like poof, no more hobos. It was like poof, no more homeless. Everybody, did we ever get an answer to what happened? Everybody was like, what happened to the homeless people? It seemed like overnight, like they took a broom and swept those niggas off the face of the planet. And then slowly they started creeping back in. That was an astounding moment to see how quickly they could clean up the streets of San Francisco and hide them.
Of, hey, I want to placate to this group.
Right.
So
yes. Well, then, yes,
yeah.
you have him come speak, man. I mean, I don't believe in any, like, yes, it doesn't matter how evil the guy is. It matters, like, how relevant this is.
Yes.
And if we're trying to make this system a little bit less worse, then, yeah, I think you got to deal with these guys. Now, there's an argument if Hitler is...
So you look at let's say if it's reverse. I'm interested to hear what Dave says about the funny mustache guy there. But say that it's the Republican National Convention. Would they have comic Dave Smith speak at their convention? No. They don't need eyeballs. They don't need help from him to do that. All they would do is bring more people to the Libertarian Party. But there's something that Trump needs as to why he's going here.
Some fringe figure who is totally irrelevant, do you bring him just to start ranting about the Jews? No, probably not.
Right.
So the question isn't like how bad the guy is. The question is like, what position is he in?
And shout out, Gary's on Rumble. I just noticed that. I set it up now through StreamYard where if you comment on Rumble, I will put you up. Yeah, I can put you up on the screen. That's what I want them to be able to do with X. I don't know if Elon's going to allow for that or not. But if I'm using StreamYard, I can't go to Twitter to see who's responding. But thanks, Gary, commenting. If you're watching on Rumble, if you comment, I can put it up now. All
right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is My Patriot Supply. Most emergencies come without warning, and when the next one comes, you won't have time to pack and prepare. You need to get ready now before the emergency strikes. I think a lot of us have opened our eyes to this reality over the last few years. Your supplies should be ready to grab and go right away. Secure those supplies at my website, preparewithsmith.com. Start with 4-week energy food kits from My Patriot Supply. Helping millions of Americans prepare since 2008, My Patriot...
Support Comic Dave Smith. Robbie the Fire Bernstein, go to his channel too. I believe it's called Robbie the Fire. He was, nice enough to have me on when even I was much younger. I don't know, in my career, I mean, like YouTube, I think I was less than a year streaming, and he had me on. It was a great discussion. I should go back and revisit that. But his show was great. He stands up, Robbie the Fire, I'll continue this in a second. He stands up like he's almost doing a stand-up routine and then does his basically segments. It's a really good show, underrated show. Robbie the Fire is great. He's underrated.
Supply are experts in self-reliance. Their 4-week emergency food kits offer over 2,000 calories every day, protected by heavy-duty 4-layer packaging. These kits last up to 25 years. Sealed inside rugged handled buckets, they're made to grab quickly. So go to preparewithsmith.com. This is the final week to save $50 per kit. They ship fast and free in unmarked boxes. Save $50 per kit at preparewithsmith.com. Don't get caught unprepared. Preparewithsmith.com. All right, let's get back into the show.
I got two. Donald Trump, if for some reason this comes across your radar, here's the speech he should give. Just talk about the deep state and the deep state only.
Well,
so if I was him, just get up there and be like, listen, the biggest problem in our country right now is I was undermined by a deep state.
He hasn't done that. He has not done that. He can't even say a bad word about Fauci, basically, Christopher Wray. I agree completely. What is his... I think Donald Trump's going to come in with the strategy of you have to vote for me if you don't like Joe Biden libertarians. And that's not good enough. He's going to have to come in and he's going to say, I didn't mandate. Bro, that's not good enough. We'll see what he does. He's going to have to adapt. He can't do the same speech. He was just on a speech talking about giving the police more power. And that's not, and I'm not even necessarily that against that, but in that libertarian convention, that's going to get booed. So this is going to be very interesting to see what his strategy is.
This is what we have to clean up, and that's why you have a military-industrial
There's
take that
certainly
angle.
issues that he could pitch libertarians on. I'm very interested to see if he's even prepared for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like what he even knows about what he's getting into.
No,
Trump
I don't think so.
I have a feeling that Trump is not going to come in prepared with a message tailor-made for our group. I don't think he's going to do his homework and know that. I think that the way they're trying to set it up is that they'll basically be like a list of things that libertarians care about that they want to hear him address and then see if he'll address them. The other thing too is that people...
I'll fix this. I'll fix that other thing. That will be great now.
Yes, but again, there's there were other people I saw on Twitter because I really was very interested in the response to this, and people were like, "Well, if Donald Trump's going to come there, then he should have to debate, Michael Rectenwald. He should have to debate this guy or something like that." And you're just like, guys, again, we got to live in the real world here. And this is not. I'm endorsing Michael Rectenwald. I'm supporting him. I'm not this isn't a knock against him or any of the other candidates.
Michael Rectenwald, man. Guys, that's not going to work, bruh. That's not going to work. That's not good enough, man. I'm not even talking about from a philosophy idea standpoint. He does not have the presence to run for president. Dr. Michael Rectenwald is a fine man, a fine candidate, extremely bright. I like him a lot. Larry Sharpe would be an infinitely better candidate for president. I know Larry Sharpe is more realistic. He ran for governor, I believe, right? Or was it mayor? I think it was governor of New York multiple times, I believe. Guys, Jordan, that's not going to work. You guys are frustrating me. You can't run some geeky-ass dude with no gravitas. How's that going to work? Who are you converting? I don't even know. I mean... I was going to say, I don't even know why you have Trump come through if Michael Rectenwald is going to be the choice. I don't even know why. He's not the one to communicate these ideas. You've seen him on. Let me. If you don't know who he is, I got to go real quick to like a Timcast. I'm gonna go real quick to a Timcast, and that will give time for people on the channel to please respond to me and tell me where I'm wrong. That's not gonna work. I mean, I like Joshua Smith, and even that's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work, guys. It's not good enough. And I didn't know who Michael Rechtenwald was until recently. And I just started looking into him. And then, it's just funny how the timing worked. And it's not because he's running for president. So he was on Timcast. And, I kind of followed him and got to hear him in the long form. And he doesn't have that figurative punch you need to have. You need to be like a heavyweight hitter. So he was on twice. This is the one from 2 months ago. He was a little bit better. He was a little bit better on the second time he was on than the first time. Same with Joshua Smith. Joshua Smith's been on like 3 times.
For a while that he
I'd
was
rather Clinton Russell. I know I know I'm just turning people who aren't trying to run, but I'm just to throw out names. I'd rather Clint run than Dr. Michael Rechtenwald. Clinton has that a little bit more of that it.
polling in the 20s.
Dollars that are floating around, and then because you have to base it on real commodity like gold. But in the meantime, as I've said,
this isn't even Jeff Goldblum or whatever his name is from Jurassic Park. This, the geeky. He always was the geeky professor dude in every single movie.
Bitcoin is blasted off in the past 2 days. I thought that it topped out, and I was like, "Oh, I'll go ahead and sell some."
This isn't
woke AI. I mean,
I've never heard property. So that means
autonomous robots are another question.
That stuff, I think that people are going to have to be comfortable with AI.
That's not it, guys. It's not, and that's not a diss. I don't mean this to be disrespectful as a diss to him at all. Please don't take it that way. As I laugh, I mean, I know it doesn't look that way. I know it might not look good because I don't want the optics to be bad, to be disrespectful. I'm a nobody, but I will have to always call the balls and the strikes. Period. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm doing here. This isn't good enough.
It is.
So the libertarians can say all they want.
Not all of them.
But this is one of the things the Libertarian Party has fractured over. I mean, this was a hotly debated for a long time, and ultimately, I don't think anyone who thinks of themselves as a libertarian today really accepts that you could maintain libertarian values and also have an open border. Maybe
there are leftists in the Libertarian Party that strongly argue.
Like I said, it's already a fractured issue, but I don't think
they think that they equate the
Mises Caucus generally. Well, no, some of the Mises Caucus do. Some of them are.
What they do. This is actually the default libertarian position.
Are you hype? This is what it was for, Dave. I guess this is something Dave, I need to understand, bruh. I don't understand this. Or maybe he's a friend. I don't know.
Equate the movement of goods, capital, with the movement of people. And they say they're the same. So if you could have if goods are free to cross borders, then.
Bro, that's not going to work. That's not going to work for me, bro. You're going to have to pick a different person. Don't let that be the presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. And I just hope Jordan Lott doesn't unsubscribe or, I don't do anything to have people not subscribe or unsubscribe, but the live I might have to do it if he's picked as the presidential candidate. That might be I'll be like, damn, Jordan hasn't been on the channel in a minute. It might have been that take I had on Dr. Michael Rechtenwald. Sounding like nails on a chalkboard, scaring people away from the ideas of liberty. Sounding like just a geeky professor that you fell asleep in class when you had to go to class. You never wanted to go to class. This is what it sounds like.
And people should be without restrictions.
This is like, bro, I don't know what you said. Everything you say goes in one ear and out the other.
There's a difference between people.
Don't let that be the choice. And I'm just letting you know right now, don't let that be the choice. That's not going to work for me.
This. And people were like, well, if Donald Trump's going to come there, then he should have to debate, Michael Rechtenwald. He should have to debate like this guy or something like that. And you're just like, guys, like,
Could you imagine Donald Trump? Could you imagine Donald Trump be like, who? Can you imagine some geeky ass libertarian coming up to Donald Trump and being like, Donald Trump, we need you to debate. Donald Trump is a guy who is grandiose. He didn't even feel like he needed to debate Ron DeSantis. But yeah, he's going to debate Dr. Michael Rectenwald. Donald Trump can be like, who? What? That would be so funny. Donald Trump be like, what do y'all think it's doing over here? Donald Trump would be like, disband the party, disband it. Donald Trump would leave. He would leave mid-speech and he would talk to his campaign. He would talk to Susie Wiles and be like, bitch, why am I here? Actually, I don't know why Susie Wiles, I bet you Susie Wiles did not support this. If they went up to Donald Trump and said, you got to debate Michael Rectenwald, and Donald Trump said, who? And then they showed him a video, Donald Trump be like, are you all insane? What are you doing? I'm Donald Trump. I've dominated the news cycle in the world every single day since 2015. And you want me to debate this, whatever this person is? Are you insane? Oh, man.
Just, we got to live in the real world here. And this is not, I'm endorsing Michael Rectenwald. You know, I'm supporting him. I'm not like, this isn't a knock against him or any of the other candidates. I saw like Josh Smith was like, Trump, if he wants to be a real man, should come debate me. And you're like, Josh, look, man, like, dude, I love you, dude. But like, if the demand is Donald Trump has to come debate Josh Smith, then yeah, that's just going to.
That's like saying Anthony Edwards, I think Edwards is balling out in the NBA right now. And that's be like saying, hey, you got to beat me one-on-one. And you got to beat me. That'd be like going to Jordan in his prime saying, and he just came to your high school just to speak. You'd be like, Jordan, you're not the best. You got to beat me. Like, what? What are you talking about? You're not even in the same league. Not from your ideas. That's what that shows is they have no understanding of marketing. They have no understanding of relevancy. Like, where am I on the totem pole compared to this guy? Like, I mean, no offense to any of those guys over there, but Comic Dave Smith doesn't even need to debate Joshua Smith, much less Donald Trump.
Be a no. Like, it's either this or it doesn't happen. It's just, and it's like people almost got to like remove themselves from the world of like, that's just not going to happen, okay? I'd like Joe Biden to debate me, but that's not going to happen, right? So like this is something that can happen, and at least we're throwing the ball downfield, man. At least we're taking a shot at something. Rather than, oh no, you know what? Let's just keep doing what we're doing. Let's keep doing what we're doing, Libertarian Party. But we'll all we'll get together a few times a year, and we'll all give out awards to each other, and we'll all pat each other on the back, and we'll all say we're gonna set the world free in our lifetime. That's
Steve Johnson. Steve Johnson jumped in. What's up? Steve Johnson says, makes me wonder if there is more advantage to not running a candidate versus running one. Man. I really like the man. The comments that we get here, and I watch a lot of lives, man. These are some high level comments. That is a great comment. I never thought about that, Mr. Johnson. That's something to think about. I hate to react. I gotta slow down. I've been reacting too quickly because of the social media, and you got to think sometimes. There was this clip that went viral with Donald Trump from 2018, him reacting after the synagogue Tree of Life tragedy, and he looks younger. Obviously, it wasn't real or recent, and I'm acting real quick. I'm like, damn, Donald Trump said this. I thought it was recent. And my point of bringing that up is, and then I had to retract and say, well, my bad. I don't delete tweets unless it's a typo. Because the internet's forever. There's no point in deleting the tweet. I put my, yep, I retract this. This was a cringe. I got tricked, basically, a out of context clip. So I want to hesitate before I answer this and have to retrack it or do like a Tim Pool, no just a Tim Pool, but say this and then right after it backtrack. But I will say Steve Johnson has a point, and I would like to ask all of them. If your best candidate, respectfully, Dave, if your best candidate is the teacher from Peanuts, then are you better off not running a candidate? I mean, honestly. Because Dave is going to be the face no matter what. I think it's something to think about. It's a hell of a comment. Right now, my answer is yes. My answer is you should not run. If Dr. that will be on the live, if they choose Dr. Michael Rectenwald and you could even do it to Joshua Smith. I just like Joshua Smith, so I'm biased there. Why wouldn't it apply to Joshua Smith? Because he's not as like a geeky professor, and he's younger. I like his energy more. But it applies to any one of the candidates right now. It really does. The answer should be, yeah, I'd rather not run anybody at all. And I'll ask Michael Heiss. I'm not trying to be the work you guys have put in, nothing but admiration. You guys are great. That's not any diss. And I have to say that because when you talk about stuff, people will start blocking and saying you diss this and all that. If I want to diss you, I'll diss you. That will be crystal clear. But that's a hell of a comment, man. I'll at this moment, if Dr. Michael Rectenwald is the candidate for the Libertarian Party, then I don't think there should be a candidate.
Than having the most famous person who's a president of the United States of America attend and get more eyeballs on us than we've ever gotten before. Like, if the choice there isn't obvious, I don't know what to tell you.
And this is odd coming from me, but I will recommend that everyone be a mensch. Don't heckle the speech. Don't show up and try and derail it. Just don't go if you don't want to hear it, but let the guy do his thing.
I'd say don't heckle for sure.
Well, why not? I'm not saying to be disrespectful, but he can't be out there touting Operation Warp Speed. I mean, that won't work. So it depends on what he says. He can't bring the Johnson & Johnson family down like he did during that one speech and got booed. He can't bring Lindsey Graham out and not get booed. So it depends on what he says. I'm not saying be disrespectful, but if he doesn't read the room, just like you do stand-up, Dave, I gave you the opportunity for the stage, sir. And if you come out talking about Operation Warp Speed, then you might not make it through the speech. Not any violence thing, but just the boos are gonna be too loud. So I will disagree on that. It depends on what he says.
And I think you should be respectful to him when he goes up there. But I also wouldn't be against
booing?
If there's something he says that's bad, I wouldn't be against booing. You're allowed to clap if he says something good. I think you're allowed to boo if he says something you don't like. Because I think that might be good. It should be done in a way that it's not going to ruin this and he's going to walk off stage. That doesn't get us anywhere.
No, it depends on what he says.
Thing. But if there is something where look, when his own audience booed him for celebrating the vaccine, I thought that was powerful. And so I'm not against that.
Right. And it'll be funny, he looks at the list and it says Federal Reserve and he goes, I want to lower the interest rate, and the whole room just boos him.
Yeah, I know, because Trump kept the interest rates basically at zero the whole time artificially.
Why did I just
That'd be really funny. He goes, I want to raise the interest rate. Boo! He's like, is there a third option here? We're going to really blow your mind, Donald Trump. But anyway.
If you have the Federal Reserve, you have to raise the interest rates.
Look, if nothing else, it's a fascinating moment in the history of the libertarian movement, in the history of the Libertarian Party, and even in American political history. We've now entered that conversation. I don't know what you can point to that is exactly like this that's ever happened. And so again, wow, that to me is exciting. Okay, now again, I will admit, as I was saying before, when you throw the ball downfield, it could get intercepted, and it's going to be a challenge to try to mold this into the best possible outcome. I'm thinking out loud here when I was just saying, well, no, but you should boo him if you know what I mean. We should be giving this a lot of thought. I know I just spoke to Angela on the phone for a while. I know she's giving this a lot of thought. But at the same time, it's amazing that anybody who cares about these issues would be no.
I think it's fair to warn Trump, because I don't know if they know. I don't know what's going on with him speaking here, but these are topics that aren't going to work. You can talk about whatever you want, but understand this is a libertarian convention, so that means they're going to be rowdy. They're going to be skeptical of you. This is a very interesting moment.
I'd rather just not do this. I'd rather just have a regular libertarian convention. It just makes no sense to me.
Just look at it this way. He had to come to this convention to try and win over the people that are pro-freedom. And then people go, wait, there's a group of people that are pro-freedom?
Yeah.
Who's this pro-freedom group?
Yeah.
It actually shows off the largest of where we're at, that people are interested in us. And that's part of the game is, and that's why, like, during COVID, like, it's the inverse of during COVID where they were trying to pretend you were crazy if you weren't getting vaccinated. And then if you actually looked at the numbers, up until the forced compliance, it was not very popular. And then once the forced compliance came in, there were still a lot of people that weren't, but they were trying to pretend like you're crazy. They kind of censor us by pretending like we don't exist or we're not important. If people have to actually show up and contend with us as a potential voting bloc, that actually goes, oh, there's a lot of people that are interested in this. And that's how you get more people interested.
Yeah, and look, like, there also was, by some people, like, a complete inability to grapple with the Trump moment and what that represented.
Yep.
And all of the complaints that we've listed out over all of the years, and there's not a single one of them that I take back. I literally, like I said, just on, I don't remember if it was either the last episode or one of the most recent episodes, I was going hard at him, and I'm going to continue to do that throughout the campaign, throughout, if he gets into the White House again, throughout all of that. So, like, all of that's true. Donald Trump's track record on war and spending and obviously COVID and money and almost everything you could think of is really has a lot of problems. That's all true, and it's also true that he is the figure who is more single-handedly responsible for completely discrediting the corporate media, for kind of luring the deep state out into the open for them to reveal themselves, for really, in many ways, shattering the matrix than anyone else. And so, okay, he's like a profoundly interesting figure. I think debatably the most interesting figure in, like, modern American history. And so, like, that, I don't know, just, like, look at that.
So I'm going to take the bigger picture than be out here. Let's go to Michael Heiss. I got to do more with that. And, maybe, after all this dies down, see what happens, if Michael Heiss would be interested in coming on the show. I think very highly of him. And here's Michael Heiss. And this is I'm just going to give you context of the Libertarian Party. Michael Heiss, I said, is the Steve Bannon of Liberty. I say that as a compliment. Founded the Mises Caucus in 2016. They de-wokeified the entire organization. It is an incredible feat that has never been done in an organization of this size. To our knowledge, I've never seen it, never heard of it. Here's Michael Heiss.
Following this interview, the Mises Caucus successfully pushed to remove language from the party's platform condemning bigotry as irrational and repugnant.
What's the rationale behind that?
It's one sentence. We condemn bigotry as irrational and repugnant. First of all, it's redundant when you look at the rest of the plank. Okay. The rest of the plank outlines that government should not be discriminating on lines of sex and gender and religion and all that stuff. So that's already covered. So that language is... It's a virtue signal, basically. It's I'll use the term cultural Marxism. What is happening nowadays with the wokeism is people are using language and they're changing to how do I word this? They are using language as dialectics along cultural lines to push for collectivist ends. So back in the day when you had cultural revolution, the Marxist revolutions, they had their dialectics of the rich versus the poor and the owner versus the worker, and they were pushing towards collectivist ends. It's the same ideology that's happening now, but they're pitting, cis versus, straight, and male versus female, and trans versus whatever, and that language is indicative of that, because that very sentence, I think it is, came from Maxine Carruthers, I think it was, who is an open Marxist. So if we're going to be pushing our own language and our own vision, we should do it on our terms and not use other people's language and try to repurpose it when that already is the dominant culture. I mean,
is the Libertarian Party open to bigots and racists?
Technically speaking, you can have whatever thoughts you want. You can't violate the NAP, though. Okay. That doesn't mean that it's a good thing or that you have to accept it, because again, we have to be accepting of people's standards, even if they're controversial or we might not like them. But libertarianism isn't about wrongthink. It's about non-aggression, self-ownership, and property rights.
Yes, sir. So the Libertarian Party was woke. It was woke before. Culture is everything, so winning that battle is everything, regardless of your social and political views. And I went through this before, and this is going to be my takeaway of the whole conversation. Culture. That's what they focus on with the Mises. That's how they took over the caucus and got rid of the woke, is by de-wokeifying the party and taking over the culture. And you see him talking about the dialectic and the linguistics, basically. What language are you using? We want to take over liberty. We can't be using their language. So this part here, activist Rudy Dosky coined this approach of fighting the culture war. As the long march through the institutions, corporate interests are controlling. This is a thread from mine from almost 2 years ago. Corporate interests are controlling culture mostly through wokeism. The populist right through anti-wokeism. And I would disagree. Well, yeah, I think that's okay. What is the populist left doing? This was more to kind of talk about the populist left, but one of the greatest political accomplishments of my lifetime is the de-wokeifying of an institution. It's never happened before. The Reno reset. That's how these people, Comic Dave Smith, Robbie the Fire Bernstein, Angela McArdle, got involved and took over. Michael Heiss. This was a takeover of the Libertarian National Party by the Mises Caucus. Mises Caucus, they talked about their approach in this clip after they took it over. Culture was and still is the most important thing to them. What does culture mean? Culture, to me, I define it by anything outside of politics. It's cultural. Entertainment, religion, education. They're built off the Ron Paul culture that he created in those epic runs in 08 and 12.
So that's kind of the bigger point. It's like we got to be working towards something. This is a long-term struggle, and we have to be working toward building and building and
Sounds like a long march through the institutions.
working towards something. This is a long-term struggle, and we have to be working toward building and building and building. And when you do what Ron Paul did, look at us years later. We have all of this because of that.
Ron Paul set the groundwork. He didn't win when he ran for president, but he created a movement that now the offspring of that movement is doing this, and Dave wants to do that for the next one. And maybe we have Neuralink and get it implanted in our brains, and we're around for the 3 generations later that get liberty.
He did something that will last. That's the difference.
Just to give some context, it was 4.3 million votes. We peaked at 21,000 members, I think it was, which is still less than what we were when Harry Brown was running in the 2000s,
Right.
or early 2000s. And there is no endearing Gary Johnson movement. There's not even an endearing Rand Paul revolution. There's only an endearing Ron Paul revolution within our movement because he understood that it is culture and ideas first. It's not actually politics.
The reason you don't see more
That's the chair, Angela, speaking now.
legislative gains is because you're not going to get that until you free people from their ideological prison first. That has to come first before you can get them to vote the right way, obviously. You've got to have them totally on board and embracing personal liberty.
They have a strategy, whether you agree or not. You can see the strategy, see them working. Because of their focus on culture, they have a movement that dwarfs anything from the populist left or anybody else. Mises chair Michael Heiss responded to a question hinting at Justin Amash running for president. I would pick him over anybody they have now, though. But he's running, isn't he running right now for Senate or something? I got to look that up. Michael Heiss responded by saying picking someone who can affect culture is the most important. That doesn't work well for Michael Rectenwald.
So what I would say is that Justin Amash represents, in my opinion, the best version of an overall failed strategy, which is vote chasing. And this whole we're here to elect libertarians thing, there's a surface truth to that. We are a political party and we do exist to try to elect people and all of that, but then it begs the question of how do you do that? Is that a good in and of itself, or do we have to change the culture, change the way people think, have more people thinking about these ideas, thinking about liberty before something like that is ever possible? When you go jump straight to we're here to get people elected, it kind of presupposes all of that other stuff of like changing the culture. And I don't think that he necessarily sees this as a cultural battle first and foremost before it could ever manifest as a political battle. So this whole idea of vote chasing, I think, is where we have gone wrong for the past 16 years. And Dave, I think, represents the opportunity to infect the culture in a way that we haven't seen since.
So I think they were talking like this because I don't want to say everybody was assuming, but it was a much greater possibility. It was a possibility that Dave would be the answer, and he is a culture guy. He does his thing with what's the Legion of Skanks, just a stand-up group of comedians that are just hilarious, off-color, not even political stuff. And he's a culture guy. And everyone kind of was under the assumption I was ready to party, and I think that's why they're talking like this. And now it's kind of, this is great, this is how they think, but it kind of bit them in the butt now that he's not.
The Ron Paul revolution, and maybe even more than that.
Well, and that's where Steve Johnson comes in and says, maybe you don't run anyone, just let Dave affect culture. What's this clip? Heiss again on culture and the long-term play.
As for like, what's the long-term plan? Well, we keep harping on this idea that it's got to be a cultural movement before it could ever be a political movement. Well, where does culture actually organically really come from? It comes from the family up through the community. So if we are serious about ingratiating ourselves to the culture, that's where we have to operate, is up in the community. That's where it will actually come from. So if we start creating change in the community at the local level, then we can start to scale and we can start to build trust, because trust is the actual currency that holds society together. It's in a lack of trust environment where we're divided by politics that we start to artificially hate each other. And that's what's happening, and that's the whole plan, is to not rely on ourselves, to rely on others, to rely on strong men to destroy our enemies for us. So what we have to do is create our own culture, and that starts at the local level.
Absolutely.
As for like what's
absolutely correct, sounds exactly like Bannon. I said Eric July is an example of this, comics guy. A lot of people are doing that. A lot of people understand culture. That's how young Nick has become such a force. You ban young Nick everywhere, off of every major platform, and he's such a force you can't, now Elon let him back on. He's going to make money for Elon. But why? Because he created a culture with his movement. That's not easy to do. I'm not, you got to be a branding guy. You got to be a natural leader. Everybody can't do that. But yeah, he did. So I think that's what led us to this point here. There's people on the left who do it. There are people, Lenin, you can go straight to the negative stuffs of Lenin, but Lenin was a culture guy. Lenin was a debate bro, culture guy outside of politics. There's people on the left doing that. And they need more. They need much more of that. They need to get into the culture war, not to run away from it, not avoid it. And I think that's basically it. Oh, here's the Legion of Skanks. So this is a good one. Here's a little clip from Legion of Skanks where I said Comic Dave Smith does culture.
So there it was.
Well, actually, let me make sure. I don't know if I can play it. There's a lot of off-color stuff on that, so let me not play that. I forgot what that joke was there. But let's go to this clip here, part of the problem again.
Okay, Dave, I got a hardball for you here. You got a room of fans, and I think we've established that this group of people is really asking when, not if, you're going to run for president in 2024. And if we can see that happen, what I want to know is, how are we going to get the soccer moms of America to vote for 1/3 Legion of Skanks?
Well,
shots.
Oh, geez. I mean, look, I'll say this. It's not at all that I don't want to try to appeal to soccer moms. And maybe I'm going to, as I'm become more of the age of being a soccer dad, that I will be able to, but the first thing I'm going to say, and again, I really hope the comment that I just made before about the boomer generation isn't like taken the wrong way. I'm really not making there are exceptions to this rule. I'm just noticing a pattern. That's all. There's many people who don't fall into that. But I will say this, that in the spirit of what we were saying before of trying to build a movement and a revolution, my major priority are young people. That is what I'm trying. This is what's going.
He gracefully said, I don't care about your old, past your prime, soccer dad or mom ass. I'm really trying to go after young people.
To lead to the next generation being a more free generation. My goal here, the reason why I've been a libertarian since 2008, 2009, really. I was introduced in 2007 and kind of was converted over that time. And I loved these ideas and completely believed in it. And I care about my own freedom and I want to be free. The reason why I'm really active and really care about this shit is because I got 2 little kids and I'm genuinely scared about the future of this country for them. My priority is to leave behind something good for them. That's what I care about. So my number one priority is to wake up an army of young people.
Yeah, I like that. And for me, it's the same, very similar thing. I'm not scared about the reality of the world. I'm more scared that I won't leave them with the proper tools to navigate it. But it's basically the same thing. So let me know what you think. That's the live there. Interesting stuff going on. I can't wait till Trump speaks to hear what happens. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Appreciate you. I am out.